Mulva Zombie Ass Kicker. When I had finished this movie, I got the overwhelming desire to take a cheese grater to my eyeballs. This movie is, for all intents and purposes, an abomination. For one, it is false advertising. See that girl on the poster right there? That hot looking schoolgirl? She's not in it. Neither are guns. The producer, which is called, I kid you not, Low Budget Films, was deliberately shot in a America's Home Video style format. When I say America's Home Video, you of course remember the quality of the video that you see in America's Funniest Home Videos. It is that awful. It stars a chunky chocoholic girl who totally grosses me out when it comes to her eating habits. She had Count Chocula with Pepsi instead of milk, and chocolate syrup, and little mints mushed in. And she ate them. She ate the bowl of cereal, which at that point I was gagging. It's similar. There's crappy transition effects. It looks like it was made with the crappy transition effects were done by PowerPoint, Microsoft PowerPoint, because they had the little peel away thing. Or no, it looked like it was done with Windows Movie Maker. So and the acting was so awful. It was as if the director took a bunch of people from random off the street, gave them $50, and told them to say the lines on this paper as you see them, and act as you see fit. And the way they saw fit was not at all. The gore effects are trying to imitate the Holy Grail in blood spurt effects and stuff, except for one main difference. It's not funny. The Holy Grail was hilarious when it came to the blood effects. This was not. This was just cheap-ass corn syrup in a garden hose. In one scene, you could actually see the garden hose that they were feeding the corn syrup through. They were trying to imitate the hilarious cheapness of Kung Pao Enter the Fist, with the bad audio sync and stuff, but it just failed miserably. It was painful to watch. There was barely any story to speak of. With the zombies, there was no explanation as to why they appeared, or they were just there. They killed a couple people, and that's it. Which brings me to the fight scenes. The fight scenes were poorly executed. It looks like the choreography and makeup was handled by a 15-year-old working for a 7th grade play. I distinctly remember the acting quality of a 7th grade play because I was part of one. I had the pleasure of working with 7th graders when I was a 7th grader myself on Bye Bye Birdie, and the fight scenes reminded me of that because one of my friends back then, I suggested that he throw a punch at Conrad Birdie, but instead he just went in with his wrist. It was awful and didn't even look like it made a connection. It's just like that, except you might actually see this because the play that I was in was an atrocity in itself. It's really difficult to say anything good about this movie. It was even worse than Stupid Teenagers Must Die. The video quality was even worse than that. The acting quality was worse. The script was worse. And yet, it was more bearable somehow. Maybe it was because I was not focusing my full attention on it. If I had focused my full attention on this movie, I undoubtedly would have gone insane. It was this bad. Uh, so it was probably because I was distracted by playing RuneScape at the same time. That's the only positive thing that RuneScape has ever done for me. It saved me from going insane. Uh, yeah, so it was more bearable than Stupid Teenagers Must Die for for the sole fact that I had not focused my full attention on it. Uh, and for no reason, one of the zombies suddenly shouted, "Cherry Coke!" in the middle of tearing one of the characters apart. Uh, I just found that sort of amusing. Uh, so, yeah, that was. It looked like a college freshman's film class project, except he got an F for fucking awful. So, false advertising, you get penalized for that movie. Bad acting. This was under horror, the horror genre and zombie genre, which I must say it had failed miserably to extract any kind of horror device from this whole thing. There was not one part where I was scared, where I was where I was uncomfortable. This was just a fail fest. This belongs in the giant convention of fail. This would be the crowning achievement of the great failures of our time. Watching this movie was like nailing my dick to a wall and then having the wall ripped out from under me. In fact, instead of watching this movie again, I would much rather staple my hand to a passing bus and ride it all the way downtown while being dragged on the asphalt and having my knees torn up. If you have the decency to avoid this movie, then you also have the decency to heed my words and not watch the sequel, which I will, against my better judgment, be doing. The name in itself is a testament to how desperate these people are. Mulva, which, if you are in any way familiar with the female genitalia, you immediately jump to vulva. Okay, that's what draws the guys in. It's like, Mulva, maybe she's a nymphomaniac or something. I don't know. Her name is Mulva. What I think of first is vulva. Huh. I'll watch it. Big mistake. Big mistake. Not only is it false advertising, but that girl on the poster is never in this movie. Okay? The only two main characters that are girls in this movie are chunky, unattractive, and one of them has constantly has chocolate syrup on her face. And listening to her talk is like listening to a bunch of nuts and bolts being shaken around inside a blender with it on puree. Putting a blender on puree and dumping in a bunch of nuts and bolts. It's like listening to that while scratching your nails down on a chalkboard and running your hand along an inflated balloon. That is all I have to say about this movie. I give this movie, bing, one pill. One pill. Because it was slightly more bearable than Stupid Teenagers Must Die. Probably because I had already numbed myself to the atrocity of these B movies. So, there's no saving graces, there's no nothing to save this movie from my wrath. So you get one pill, never want to see it again. If you have the guts to see this movie, be prepared and don't look directly at the screen. Do not look directly at the screen. Find something to distract you. Nail your hand to the table. Uh, Stitch yourself up after ripping out your own heart. Perform open heart surgery on yourself while watching this movie. Perform a lobotomy on yourself while watching this movie. It's easy. Just take a nail and stick it through your head. There you go. Trepanning. But my advice is to never watch this movie. That is it. I'm FragPenguin, the bipolar king of comedy, and I am seeing you guys later.